Hey guys, if you like what you see today, make sure to smash that like button and consider subscribing.
All right. So we are back with Linksters YouTube Academy conversations. I liked being over in the UK so much that I decided to stay over the pond with my next guest, Mr. John Glenn. John, how are you this
Yeah, I'm
morning?
great.
Is it still morning there?
It's kind of afternoon now,
There
so
you go.
yeah, the sun is out. This is like Florida weather.
What's your temperature?
I reckon it's got to be about 20, 21 degrees,
Okay. So it's not
which is
bad.
which is hot for us.
Yeah. Yeah. You could wear shorts actually if you wanted to,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, I'll stick to the trousers.
So where I wanted to start with you, John, is I I haven't known you as long as I known your buddy and my buddy Tom. But I've been very intrigued in recent conversations with you about everything that you guys are doing. But my first question is, I really don't know your background all that much. So maybe you could start there and tell me, what were some of your early influences in the game when you were a youth, if you started when you were younger, and then what has kind of led you to what you're doing today?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, appreciate the opportunity to come on, Brendan. It's very kind of you, and it's great to have you on board with what we're doing. But yeah, it's I actually I actually started started golf quite late. I was just before I was 16. I started. I'm 35 now, but I always loved teaching and helping people out. I never really had some aspirations of wanting to play, but I just had that passion for helping people, and I thought obviously coaching is a perfect fit. Um, I was at my home club as a sort of a junior. I played pretty good standard. Just got down to scratch, and then I thought, well, I want to teach. I want to get involved. A number of years sort of passed, and I did my trainings. I qualified in 2014, and I was doing various other bits, working with my father in his industry, caddied a lot on the European tour for some players at different stages of Q School, Challenge Tour, and I got some great experience from that, building relationships with people. And then an opportunity came up for me to start my training at a facility called The Grove, which many of you will know. Tiger Woods won there back in 2006, the American Express Championship.
Yeah.
It was my time there where I got very busy coaching as an assistant and trainee, and I developed a fantastic relationship with Kevin Merry, my business partner now, who was a senior golf instructor there, and he was there for when we both left 10 and 11 years. We were both at The Grove. And I developed a fantastic relationship with Kevin. Kevin was a good influence to me in what I was doing with my training. He always put himself out, and I'd go to after sessions after work, and we would work together, and we built a very strong relationship, connection, and helping each other out, and it was just great friends from there, and learning off each other. And so really sort of fast tracking it a little bit here. Developed the teaching, did a lot of corporate stuff at The Grove, did loads of different things, juniors, farm members, all sorts of things. And it then came to where me and Kevin thought, well, we wanted to simplify this game up with a concept, and we started to look into colour, Brendan.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really interesting as we looked at how we could move people through colour. Lots of studies out there. Colour's always around us, but we thought, how can we use the specific colours that we've come up with to move people in the golf swing? And they all have a meaning, the colours, but we found the fit with the colours to some of the meanings for the golf swing. And it was just a kind of a light bulb moment. And we thought, right, we'll roll with this. And really, Brendan, from there, we spent a couple of days with Dave Allred, which many of you know. He was Johnny Wilkinson's kicking coach for the England rugby team. It was fantastic. He came along at The Grove. We spent some time. And one of the things he said to us that was really interesting, he said, always look outside of your own field of learning. It was really interesting. Kevin's quite arty. I'm quite creative. We looked at building stuff. We looked at other sports, and we thought, well, actually, we could use this system. And we've done stuff with children with learning difficulties, autism, and really strength to strength. A lot of people still relate it as a kids thing, but the success we get through adults, juniors, any ability has been fantastic, Brendan.
What you had just said about people, the perception is this is more of something for kids, and it is absolutely perfect for kids. but what kind of success have you found with adults?
Well, and I'll show you in a second. It's what we call our most powerful 5 minutes in golf that we feel we've got, Brendan. I'll tell you a little story here. It'll be short, but my previous facility, when I had a lesson with this guy, he came along, and the kit, I had it under my arm like this, and it was all full of the bits, and he saw the colours, and he said, I'm not here for a kid's lesson.
Yep.
I said, no problem. I said, let's have a little look. He said, oh, you need to help me with my slice. It's terrible. So I can't get rid of it. So I got him set up, Brendan. Started putting a couple of yellow strips out for his target where he's aiming, and I'm gradually pulling bits. I said, stand back and have a look. He says, no way am I aiming there. I said, I'll just put the strips down. That's where you're aiming. Anyway, we start to build out some bits using the clarity tools, obviously the visual cues with what we do. And he said to me at the end of the lesson, can I just apologise? I said, go on. I said, you don't have to apologise. He said, that was the best lesson I ever had, or I have had. He said, but I didn't give it a chance. I saw the colours and I thought it's just a kid's thing. And I said, exactly. You're an accountant. I've worked out what you did, or you do. You like things, numbers, you like technical. You need to strip it back. And as we get older, we need it more in kid form. And he said to me, you're absolutely right. And that guy ended up staying with me as a client, and we built a great relationship. And it just shows you that, again, that perception of a kid's thing, when he gave it a chance and saw a simple visual setup, he didn't start thinking about internal thoughts, which we'll come on to in a minute, but internal versus external. We teach this system with anyone externally, talking about your zipper, your buttons, your logo to a color, like yellow for attention. But the build out with adults is amazing when you get them to build out their shot. So we'd say to them, you know, what sort of shot you would like to play? Oh, I want to hit it straight. So obviously everyone wants to do that as the hardest shot. We get them to physically build out the pieces. And it's amazing what they build out, because people build out what they think they should be doing, Brendan.
Yeah.
The exciting piece is when you move them and find the right roadmap, it's like that light bulb moment. But it's, it's been really exciting to build out. And that's been challenging to get across to people, Brendan. When people experience it, they love it. We just need to touch more people.
You know, it was fascinating when I went through the level 1 training. That was the one section, as you had mentioned briefly, about the internal and external. That's one thing that stuck with me. And to be honest with you, you know, with the setup I did in my backyard, I've been hitting some golf balls. I don't, like most golf professionals, or many golf professionals, as I say, I don't focus on myself all that much. But I constantly struggle with my path on the downswing. And so I was setting this up for me, and it's really giving me a much better understanding of, even though I'm videotaping my swing and looking at it, it's giving me a better understanding of the feels that I've never had before. And it speaks a lot. It speaks volumes to what you guys are doing, because as a golf professional, and you're probably the same way, well, probably not with your system, but I think we make things far too difficult, and we like to think in very technical terms because it makes us feel smart, because we've done all this studying of how the swing works. And we know as instructors, this is no good to, you know, use these terms and use this terminology with our students, because they don't know. They haven't studied the swing like we have. And the simplification of what we do as instructors needs to really be emphasized. And I think that's where you guys come in better than anything else that I've seen.
I appreciate that, Brendan. It's giving that, for us, it's moving people more subconsciously. As you quite rightly said there's some fantastic instruction going on out there. You know, even just these past few weeks, listening to Instagram lives and podcasts and webinars. But the thing we feel that's missing is there's a disconnect between the coach and the student very often. As you know yourself, you're teaching, you get the nodding dog. You know, people are sitting there or standing there, and they're like, okay, Brendan. But when that door shuts and they go away, there's some great acute learning that's gone on. But what we question is that chronic learning state, that when they come back or when they're on their own, they're scratching their head, they're thinking, well, what was it we went through? But with our system that we're finding, it's the powerful piece of the self-learning as well. Where now I could be at the driving range, I could have had my lesson with you, Brendan, I've got the kit, I can build it out. And every colour path student to this day, and you'll start to experience it, what you're doing, they can take you through the whole session. It's almost like you're listening to the coach.
Yeah.
And it's great because, you know, it's not about going, well, they've got it or they don't come and see you. No, between lessons, they're getting clarity, which helps you as the coach as well, Brendan.
So where I wanted to go with our conversation, John, is I see you have it set up on the ground there.
Yep.
But before we talk about the setup, I'd like you to kind of get into the meaning of the different colors for your system.
Sure. Yeah, so we use, the 4 colors. I'll bring them up. We've got different shapes and different pads that we use. But for us, yellow we use for attention. Yellow being the brightest color in the spectrum. It was an obvious color, but it's going to grab your attention. So we use it for target line references, end of range of motion finishes. So we always use that color for that aspect of the game. Blue is a cool and calm color. So for us, we would like to see blue as the takeaway and transition of the swing. You know, we get a lot of people that are too fast from the top, and they now actually talk to us in the language of colour. You know, they've always said, we've had a few guys, I've been 15 years in a red, and now know I need to be cool and calm. So we use that as a cool and calm phase. We use it for low pressure as well, Brendan. Okay. So when we're setting up, you know, if you're setting up for a driver, you want to have less sort of pressure here and more pressure being red on this side, so you can move people in that way. We use it obviously for the downswing path as well. We use green as relax and go. Relax and go, obviously traffic light, go sign. When we're swinging through, we use it for the exit path of the golf club, where that needs to go. We use it for attack angle ramps. We'll prop this up with a ruler to get the feeling of someone visualizing swinging down on the golf ball. It's a lot easier to show the attack angle rather than that sort of terminology. And then we use red as speed, power, and control. So we'll use that for ball position. Yeah, I've got a ruler here to control the ball position where we need to be. The club face reference at impact, and we often put one above the ball as well for a face reference at impact. Danger, we can use that as a reference. If I had a couple of pads here and we swung back, you know, we don't want to get the butt end of the golf club to the red pad. We want it to blue, so we can use it for that element as well. And speed in the golf swing, the fastest point in the swing, we like to use red. So really, Brendan, it really is as simple as following that 4-coloured sequence, and when you know what the colors mean, you can move people quite quickly and you can get them to be consistent with you.
So now that we have a little bit of a better understanding of the colors, would a student, because I just very happily got some kits for my students that came in the mail the other day, how would a newbie with your system, how would they go through setting up the sticks for a basic straight shot?
Brilliant. Yeah, so let me show you. We would start, first of all, with your stations that you've got with your students. You would start with 2 yellow rulers. As I say, you have one above the ball. You don't have to, but you can have one above the ball, and you've got a red ruler here. So it's like a crosshairs. But where it gets interesting, even with the beginners, when you're building this out, is you ask them, you say to them, right, we're going to build out a straight shot. Show me what a straight shot looks like. And often what you get with beginners is they stack everything up on top, which is fascinating, really. But you kind of understand why, because they think it's straight back, straight through. So they'll put the blue ruler like this. They'll put it on top of yellow. We'd say, where's the exit path go then? And they'll put it on top of yellow there. And we say, where does the club face look at impact? Now, often that's the one that they get lost with. They go, well, what do you mean? Well, when you make contact with the ball at impact, where does that go? And they put that there. Well, as you know, Brendan, if to do that, that's literally this movement. And we see a lot of beginners when they start, they do this movement.
Yep.
But if we can then move them and say the swing works on an arc, we literally do that. After a while, you can get rid of this for a beginner because sometimes it may confuse them, but you can create an arc. You can add a couple more rulers in to show a little bit more of an arc this way. And now, Brendan, when they're setting up, you've controlled the environment, you've got them set, you've got their ball position, and you give them the visualization that the golf club swings on a semicircle. And you start with a little waist-height swing, doing this movement. Then you'd introduce a little bit of a hinge. And the next one that we'd add in is a blue disc. So we add a blue disc in. We add a blue disc. So I use a pad here for this one here, but we'll add a pad here, and we'll swing back, and we'll say, get the butt end of the golf club to the blue pad.
Yep.
Simple reference, like you would probably say to your kids, thumbs up to me, but they're moving visually. But it's you can use as much as the kit as you want, or you can strip it right back. It might just be a target reference. You can end up getting rid of this, but for different students, you might just start off with that. You might just have a yellow and a ball position.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is you can have in a group, when you turn your back, this is the bit that me and Kevin found, when you turn your back, they can still self-learn and work on the key points that you want to work on with them. Instead of them being like this a little bit, you know, after a few shots that the mind can wander a little bit, they're not sure what to do, but you can keep them on track. So that's what we would do, Brendan.
Brilliant. It really is one of the coolest things I've seen in quite some time. Let's talk a little bit about the internal versus external, because again, that's one of the things that fascinated me as an instructor.
Absolutely. So a lot of instruction is internalized, is internal focus. So what that means is we're talking about body parts. So often we'll see a lot of instruction videos on YouTube where it will say, set yourself up, we're going to turn the left shoulder under your chin, we're going to turn the hips, and when we swing through, we're going to turn our lead hip through, we're going to bring our right shoulder through. There's quite a lot of points going on there, but there is some key things you need to go through internalized. You know, you need to talk a little bit about the grip position, setup, you know, in terms of your posture, flex your knees, things like that. But if you can get them to do that and move with the color as it's external, there's been studies, there's over 80 studies worldwide that have proven that an external focus outperforms internal. But it's amazing for me and Kevin that still predominantly of instruction that's done is much more internal than external. And we're excited going through this phase now that the more we pump out and show people how they can move externally, it's a breath of fresh air because they don't need to think about body parts to swing. We find the more that people think internal, turn the chest to the target, people get tensed up. But instead we'll say, we'll prop a yellow pad out in front here. And I'm going to use a red one as well, Brendan, as a no-go danger area. Look how easy this is to move now. Get my buttons on my colour path logo to yellow. As I swing, yellow. Not thinking about anything else. Oh, that's the bad one. That's red. I haven't finished. Just get that logo to yellow. All this starts to move. We're moving in good sequence, good timing, good kinematic sequence.
Yeah.
And that's what we're after, rather than talking about the body parts. So there's lots of good research out there, Brendan, but we just try and get away from that completely.
You know, something I was just thinking of is I've always found it important as an instructor that my students understand the cause and effect of certain things within the golf swing. For example, I think it's important for them to understand the ball flight laws. I think it's important for them to understand, you know, your path and your face and how that all relates to where the ball goes. And now with that said, I still believe that, and I'm still, you know, going to have my students, as particularly my more advanced students, try to understand that more and more. However, there's a big difference between studying things and understanding things versus trying to do it yourself and make the physical movement. So I think there's still a place for the internal versus external. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, absolutely. There is still a place. I guess from our point of view, from our delivery of the way that we deliver and we try and get our certified guys to do it, is there is a place for that. Like we mentioned, the grip, the posture and how your body works. Mm-hmm. But I think when you're giving students that initial pointer of reference, yes, it's great. But when you're then giving them things to work on away from the lesson, hence where the kick comes in, you've got to make it much more subconscious to then blend those internal movements, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because if the language is too much of body parts, then students will get wrapped up of going, is this right, Brendan? Is this right, John? And they're thinking about positions. Whereas through our sequence of pattern that we've created, the flow is there, the sequence, the following that path, and then it sort of happens. And you know yourself, Brendan, with your students, they hit one in front of you and you go, John, how was that? Well, what did you think? I don't know. It was great. It just happened. And the best players in the world that play, they're not thinking about techniques. There is a time for that, but you're absolutely right. There is a place for it, but I think it's down to the instructor with the actual language it's going across.
And it's going to be a case-by-case basis for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let me switch gears a little bit, and I forgive me if I have you running around a little bit there, but this isn't just a full swing, a kit and a process for full swing. One of the things that really was intriguing to me is you know, the concepts of chipping and pitching, which as simplistic as it may seem to us is golfers and instructors, it's still foreign, just like everything else with golf, to a new golfer. So let's, for example, can you show me how you'd set up for a chip shot or for a pitch shot?
Absolutely. I'll do this one face on. I'll just grab a wedge here.
Okay.
It'd be easier to show you face on given the movements that I'm going to do. So we have you can use this for chipping or pitching, but I'll show you first, if you don't mind, for pitching, because
Okay.
I'll show you the full sequence. So when we're setting up, we'll use a red ruler out in front. We'll use a red below. We'll do 2 yellows here. And then we put an angle. This is the important one, the angled yellow ruler here. Can you see that okay?
See it fine, yes.
Okay, so for us, when people are setting up to the ball for pitching and chipping, we get them to move for a sequence here. So we'll get them to start with their feet fairly close together, club out in front, with the handle of the golf club is matching this red ruler, which is the ball position. You've got the head of the golf club at the far red ruler. We get them then to take a comfortable stance, and we get them then to move to this angled yellow ruler. We soften the knees, we bend towards that yellow ruler, so the club's in front of the golf ball, and we simply then just get them to bring the club behind the ball. And by doing that, they've actually got their weight in the lead foot already. They've got their low point, which is their head in front of the golf ball. Without typically, as we often see, is people, you say to them, put the weight in the left side, and they end up doing this, Brent.
Yes.
And they move, and as we know, the spine angle gets this way, and that's going to cause a lot of inconsistency. But when you get them to move that pattern there, it's so powerful. Bend forward, club back. You're not trying to do this. You're just literally trying to bring the club head back. But I'm here. And I'm now in a great position that when I set the golf club for a pitch or a little waist height swing, I'm now going to get some great contact, good low point, and consistency of using, obviously, the bounce of the golf club and not digging, which we often see. So that's a great, simple movement. Just literally that. Just sort of taking the slack out there, moving, soften the knees, go forward, bring the club back. It's been really powerful.
Yeah. Now, what about chipping?
Chipping? Yeah, we can use the rulers like we would potentially use for putting as well. So we might have that like that, and then I'll show you something with like a handle reference that we do. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
So we would simply, just for chipping, have like a little shoot. And I'll show you a couple of ways here. But this is a nice one where you get the student to start with the ball position in the middle here, and we've got the handle here, but you can then get them to move the handle at the different colours.
Yes.
Maintaining the square club face. We might even put a red ruler here. Might join that on as a T. So they're understanding that the leading edge of the golf club is nice and square to red. But they can move the handle in different positions, depending on the shots you want to play. If you want to play a high one, we obviously play it forward, red ball position, but we get the handle matching blue. The face is square, but it allows them to think about handle to blue and then not driving this way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to move the handle and the face angle, and they're using the bounce in different ways, but obviously through the colours. We can do it with weight distribution as well. We can move this like this. A red ruler, a blue ruler, and a couple of yellows here. And as we said earlier, we're just focusing on here as more pressure, red in the lead side.
Yes.
We've got blue here, and we can just literally, with that shoot, we can play a nice little low chip and run. We can move the ball position and the rulers in different places. I could have this, for instance. I could do one like this. Get rid of these. That's the versatility of it. You know, just get rid of it, come back again, play the ball position back here, forward, and you're just moving, and you can get the handle in green as a reference. So there's different ways that you can move people and fit to how you want to do it with a student. But it's getting very versatile with it. The colours obviously mean something to us throughout when we do our ball flight layouts, but you can obviously use the colours in slightly different ways in setup. Obviously for here, I'm using it as a go reference in terms of the club head. Make sure it goes, if that makes sense, instead of stopping.
Yeah.
So you're trying to get sort of creative. But yeah, I hope that helps.
No, that's great. And, you know, I know you got the putting plates too. You guys have a library of videos on your website, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. With our products, we've got a library of videos. We've actually just recently updating our putting plate course. We're actually turning that into a bit of a certification. So anytime someone buys a putting plate, that they can get certified with a mini course. The same with our towel. We're just waiting on some more towels from China. Given what's been happening, we've had a bit of a delay, but we've got the same with the towel. And everything that we pretty much do or have, we want to put a course and training with it. One of the things that we've noticed, Brendan, a lot of organisations and individuals, I did a bit of research and I asked them, what is it, the one thing that you want in your instruction? I want more resources. I want more content. So we've just literally been locked away for a year, creating a lot of this content ready to support our programs that we want to offer our certified guys. But yeah, we've got something for everyone, junior academies, all the way up to individual coaching. We just love sharing what we're doing, Brendan.
So I want to wrap up with this. You talked about content. You've been doing quite a few things on Instagram Lives and having some guests come in. Why don't you, before we wrap up, share all the places people can find information about what you guys are doing?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Instagram is one of the platforms that we're very active on. So you can follow us there at Colourpath Golf. A website, colourpathgolf.com. You'll be able to get access, as I say, to all the videos, etc. there. We do a bit on Facebook. We're starting to build that up, and YouTube is something that we're going to start looking into now more of. But predominantly, if you follow us on Instagram, you can DM us. I'm pretty much the face on there at the moment, but you can, you know, if you direct message me through Colourpath Golf, you'll come through to me, John. But yeah, it's a platform we're building. We're excited about all the resources, and we're excited about having you on board, Brendan, with your experiences of how you're going to utilize the kit, and we're excited to see how creative you get with your students. So we just are really excited about building a community and sharing what we're doing with some like-minded coaches.
Good stuff, man. And I'm so happy to have jumped in there, done some of the certification, and really going to start utilizing the Colourpath Golf system. John, thanks for your time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll definitely be talking a lot soon.
Fantastic. Stay safe, guys, and I appreciate that. Thanks for your time for bringing us on, Brendan. Very kind of you.
Thank you.